But basically I want to do is make sure that the door gap wasn't, the Bronco body wasn't too bent this way and or like a V, because they're very notorious for doing that. So whoever built this car actually did a pretty decent job. The gap's a little big, but it's even, and that's mostly what I'm worried about. You can tell if the rocker's off, or the A-pillar is off, how big of the gap your door is going to have here. If that's too far forward, this one will pull the back of the door up, and if it's too far lean back, like your body mounts too low, it's going to pull this door down. So you always want to make sure you get this line as close as you can, because that's the one you really can't do anything about. You could shim the door hinges up here and here and kind of walk the back of the door up or down, and then push the door back. Usually when you use those aftermarket hinges, I've had a tweak on them a couple times, so I'll probably have to put our little, basically a little round pipe with a wire that you stick down inside in between the hinges. As they clamp down, the force of the door will open those up, so you can only drive the hinge back. So if you overdo it, you're kind of SOL. And then you have to get a little more creative, but that's an easy way to get those doors moved. I would recommend doing that before you paint. So that looks good. We got a good gap there, and our door to fender is a little tight, but like I said, we can push that door back. He's supposed to be bringing me another one of these. We got a hold of Tom's. They said the other one, they had Kelly open up a new upper door frame, and it's not. He said it doesn't look like it's bent, so maybe it was just a bad one from the factory. Who knows? So that's kind of the plan. So that's kind of where we left off, and I think the next thing, I see Phil's going to bring us some door hinges, but I know our gap's good here. I measured it before, 38 and 5/16, basically from this lip here to the X, and the same thing down there. I think I went from the inner fender down to that corner there. So I've got a reference to go off of. I need to get rid of the old fuel selector. Both of those holes are getting welded up. They're going to do, and then this is going to get welded up. We're going to do a single rear tank. I need to pull the e-brake. They did not pull the e-brake. I need to get this out of the way. This is your wiper motor and stuff goes through here, and then peel out the seam sealer. Then we want to take this rusty pan out. It's just all rotted out. I think we're going to go all the way up to somewhere just above this body line. And then we'll have to take and drill this out and put this on that pan. That hole stays, and I believe we're getting rid of this hole. And I don't know what that's for, but we're going to get rid of that. We'll get rid of this rust here and come along through there. And then see, there's quite a bit of rust right there in that corner. And a lot of times it'll creep up. The carpet gets wet, and then it kind of creeps up like it did back there. So I'm going to get some tools.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head.
Next thing I'm going to do is start peeling this seam sealer off. Why somebody had sent this to the sandblaster without stripping all the seam sealer off, or even pulling all the brackets. Like they left the e-brake cable, they left the selector. You can see it's kind of going to be resting in here, up behind there. They didn't peel any of this seam sealer off. Before you take something to the sandblaster, always take all the nuts and bolts and take all the parts that bolt on, like doors, fenders, brackets, and get all the damn seam sealer out of there, all right?
They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath.
Alright, so we got a bunch of that floor pan cut out of there. Basically, this was all rotted, and then up a little bit higher was our holes for our selector, with 2 more holes that bolted the selector in. So by the time I rolled up those 4 holes and repaired the rust that was close to that, I just cut this junk out. So I'll build us a little piece here, comes over here, and then I'll have to weld this in. Just this chunk here, because somewhere in here, I'm assuming a little bit lower than this. So what I'll do is I'll put my floor pan back in there, and I'll make another mark, and just remember that that's the low mark, and I'll cut 1/8 inch 1/4 inch below that, and then when we walk that panel in, we'll peel that piece off from the back. So I'm gonna wire wheel this, and I'll put some rust treatment on this, and then probably inside of here I'll vacuum that out, and then probably end up spraying some of that weld through primer in there just to get some primer back up between the two areas that we took apart. So that's kind of the plan on that. I'm going to set the floor pan in there, see what I need to trim on it, and then see what I need to do to the floor pan itself to get that thing ready to weld in, so that we could do that tomorrow, because it's about 5:15 or so. So I'm gonna...
My past is filled with things I won't forget. I used them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like.
The heater going, because that's a couple inches of snow that we've gotten there. Anyway, it's about 10 o'clock Monday morning. Roads were crazy. People, a little bit of snow on the ground. People drive like idiots. But hey, you know what? I heard a couple sirens going. I'm sure there's a car wreck somewhere up. Most of the pan's welded in. I'm gonna come back here and kind of knock some of these welds down, and I got to build this little inner piece. And then I'll build this. I'll build a piece that sits in here, and then I'll build a little lip piece that goes down to make it look like it was factory. Time we grind it and then seam seal it all up, and we'll hardly even know.
Then it's your chance to be ruthless.
Alright, so I got that all ground down. I finished welding in this piece here. Made like a little extra lip and then cut it kind of at a 45, kind of like the top here was, just to kind of make it look more factory. Even though we're going to seam seal this whole thing all the way down and all the way up. Probably not going to seam seal in there. We might put a little filler or something just to kind of smooth that out. We went ahead and hit that with the hard stone, and then the welded it, hit it with the hard stone, which would be this here. I usually use my little air grinder, but that little compressor is not wanting to keep up. I think it's quite the air hog. And then I come back and kind of fine tune that. I just get that close and come back and kind of knock the edges down, because I can get on the side of it and really see, like, kind of pinpoint what I'm trying to grind in. Knock down the weld without trying to knock down too much of the sheet metal, and then kind of smooth it out with a roll lock on the roll lock with 36. With like one of these, it's just a roll lock with 36. That's good enough for this. This one goes back to sandblast, and once I go back over that, everything will be nice and uniform. So I have an update on that. I did end up getting rid of that hole there, and then had to come back with my little belt sander and my roll lock and clean up the back side of here, where I had where like a little bit of welding wire and stuff was kind of poking through there, and then the back side of that had a little bit of a sharp edge from the grinder cut. So I just wanted to clean that up, kind of smooth that down so it comes down to that edge real nice. Probably run just a quick little skim of filler on that, because we're gonna have to do some body work here. These two nuts there are gone. We got to come up with a solution for that, and then that hole's pushed in, so I need to come back there and do some more hammering and dollying on that firewall. But it's kind of a little bit what we got going. I'm gonna weld up that hole, waiting for Roger, and maybe Phil will stop by. We're gonna put the wing windows in that door. Phil stops by, but Roger will be here, who knows, sometime today if he makes it over, because it's getting pretty snowy outside. And yeah, that's kind of it as far as the Bronco goes. So I'm just gonna keep trucking, welding up holes, and grind away.